Welcome back to our channel. You wouldn't believe that a man trusted by the entire country, Rickharrison, the star of Pawn Stars, a respected father, and a symbol of the American dream, won the hearts of millions with his charm behind the pawn shop counter. He taught the world how to find gold in the forgotten building. The image of a charismatic and talented man, but could all that glamour and charm just be a mask hiding a horrifying secret? If this story shocked you and you want to learn more untold truths about Rickharrison, don't forget to like, share this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any more shocking videos in the future. The truth always finds a way to come out, and we'll keep digging into secrets you've never known. Stay tuned. What if the man that all of America reveres is actually a modern-day monster hiding behind friendly jokes and warm handshakes? And what if his victim is his own daughter, a girl who has suffered in silence for years, enduring until now she is ready to break her silence, reveal everything in court, and what she says could shake the entire country? What really happened behind the closed doors of the courtroom? Why has the world not known these things? Everything will be revealed right here under the dazzling lights of Las Vegas, where dreams are traded for gold and silver. Rickharrison stands tall, an untouchable icon with a sharp smile and eyes full of experience. He is the heart of Pawn Stars, the reality TV show that transformed a pawn shop into a household name. Alongside his son Corey, a young man both arrogant and charismatic, they have built the image of a classic American family, hardworking, humorous, and tightly knit. Every item they touch tells a story, and viewers feel as if they know the Harrison family like their own. But the stage lights, as bright as they are, serve as a perfect mask that hides the darkest secrets. These secrets lie deep within the shadows of their lavish estate, where a girl lives in silence. She, Rick's adopted daughter, was taken in during a charity event, promising a completely new life. But is that life really as dreamlike as it seems? Her life, though unknown to all, lacks a name, photos, social media, not a single second on screen. She's like a ghost trapped in the very house that was supposed to be her family. But today, in the cold courtroom of Clark County, she steps into the light with a chilling truth. Her testimony is not just a story, it's a bombshell that could shatter the perfect image of the Harrison Empire. What happened behind those closed doors, and why hasn't the world known? The courtroom at Clark County Courthouse is tense. The air seems to be sucked out and crushed under the weight of a truth about to be revealed. She steps up to the witness stand, no longer a ghost, no longer the invisible shadow in Rickharrison's mansion. Now she is the fire threatening to burn down an empire built on lies. A young woman, her cold, haunting eyes cut through the silence, and then she speaks. "They took turns telling me." Her voice was flat, yet it sliced through the courtroom like a razor. 5 words, but they fell like a bomb, shaking everything: the public's trust, the legal defense, and the fortress Rick and Corey Harrison had built around their reputation. Her testimony was not just heartbreaking but a chilling journey into the nightmare of a child robbed of everything: her childhood, her trust, her voice, chillingly clear. She recounted everything from when she was 10 years old, right after Rick took her in from a lavish charity event. She had been pulled into a hell on earth. He said it was family love, she whispered, gripping the stand tightly. But it wasn't. It was control. It was fear. It was. She described how Rick, the man with the smile once admired by millions, transformed into a monster behind closed doors, and Corey, her adoptive brother, the one she had hoped would protect her, instead became an accomplice, sometimes even more brutal than Rick. They didn't just abuse her physically but manipulated her mind, telling her no one would believe her. Then who would trust an anonymous child over the beloved TV stars? But what silenced the courtroom wasn't just her words, it was the horrific evidence the prosecution revealed. Each piece of evidence was like a dagger shredding the perfect image of the Harrison family. Investigators raided a hidden safe room in Rick's mansion, a basement he called the treasure vault, but instead of finding gold or antiques, they uncovered dozens of heavily encrypted hard drives locked behind biometric scans and steel-reinforced walls. When the digital forensics experts finally unlocked the drives, even the most seasoned agents were shaken. They discovered hundreds of folders, each labeled by date, containing surveillance footage from every corner of the house, hallways, living rooms, kitchens, and the most chilling discovery was a hidden camera inside the mirror in her private bathroom. These videos weren't for the house's security, they were to track her, to observe every action, every moment. Her life had been recorded. like prey under constant surveillance, hunted within the very place that should have been her home. But it didn't stop there. The hard drives also contained folders with grotesque names like Family Time. With a trembling but determined voice, the prosecutor described the contents of the videos. Footage capturing unimaginable acts. Each video perfectly matched the handwritten journals the young woman had kept secret for 6 years. The ink-stained notebooks hidden beneath the floorboards of her bedroom lined up with painful entries. March 12th, Rick came. He said Corey would come later. When I tried to scream, he said the house was soundproof. I believed him. Handwriting experts confirmed there were no signs of forgery. Each page of those journals wasn't just a memory, it was a strangled cry. Finally, help had come to light, and the evidence grew increasingly horrifying. The prosecution revealed text messages and emails recovered from Rick and Corey's phones. One message from Rick to Corey, sent just 2 days after she wrote in her journal, "She's acting up again. Maybe it's time to remind her who raised her." Another message from Corey, timestamped at 2:14 a.m., simply read, "It's my turn tonight." These weren't just messages, they were bullets piercing through the carefully constructed facade of two men once seen as symbols of American success. The courtroom fell silent as a voicemail was played, Rick's cold, threatening voice echoing, "You're lucky to be living here. Without me, you'd be trash in the system." It wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration of power, a warning that his reputation was the shield protecting him, and no one dared challenge it. But the truth was even darker. Gloria Mendoza, the family's former housekeeper, took the stand with tear-filled eyes. She recalled the horrifying moment when she accidentally caught Rick shirtless standing on the girl's bed. She choked on her sobs, her breath caught in her throat, and the look in his eyes was one of murderous intent. As if wanting to kill her for having seen what she should never have seen, she quit that very day, but out of fear of Rick's influence, she had remained silent. Until now. Then came Brett Cummings, a delivery driver with evidence who left the courtroom in stunned silence. An accidental recording made on his phone through the mansion's walls captured the desperate voice of a girl echoing just 3 words, "Please don't say any more." The brief sound cut through the souls of everyone in the room. And perhaps the most shocking discovery came from a letter found in an old desk deep within Rick's storage room. The letter, handwritten by none other than his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, the beloved elderly man from Pawnstars, was never sent to anyone. It simply read, "To anyone who finds this letter." In the letter, he wrote, "There is something sick in this house. I can't face it any longer. May God forgive me if I have turned a blind eye for too long." These were not just words, they were the final haunting confession, proof that the darkness in the Harrison family had smoldered for years, ignored by all those who chose silence. Despite everything, the young woman remained resolute. She testified for 4 hours, her voice never breaking. She spoke about being forced to call their twisted abuse family love, the nights curled up pretending to die. Hoping to escape, they took everything, she said, locking eyes with the jury, but they didn't take my voice, and now I'm using it. It wasn't just testimony, it was a declaration. She was no longer a victim, she was a warrior. At the defense table, Rick lowered his head, his hands trembling, while Corey's face turned bright red with anger, as though he were about to explode. But no one dared lift their eyes, for the gaze of the woman they once silenced was now the loudest voice in the room. The explosion of the case wasn't confined to the courtroom. Her testimony spread across social media. Hashtags like #JusticeForHer and #PawnStarExposed flooded the internet. Accompanied by stories from other survivors of abuse, people who found strength in her courage. News outlets replayed her words. They took turns telling me that one statement had become a symbol of long-buried truths. The world, once enamored with Rick and Corey Harrison, now viewed them with disgust. But for the young woman, this wasn't about revenge, it was about liberation. She had shattered the invisible cage that had once trapped her, and the fragments of it were bringing down the entire Harrison empire. The fire from her testimony still burned slowly, steadily, and inexorably, reducing the carefully constructed illusions of the Harrison family to ashes. Clark County Courthouse was no longer just a place of judgment, it had become the battleground where truth clashed with deception. The collapse of a television dynasty was unfolding before a stunned global audience as Corey Harrison, gaunt and seething with anger, stepped up to the witness stand. The courtroom fell silent, everyone holding their breath, waiting for a defense that might salvage some part of his crumbling legacy. But what followed wasn't just the fall of a man, it was the complete disintegration of a family once praised as a symbol of America. Corey, who had once thrived under the bright lights of pawnshop fame, now looked like a cornered animal trapped with no way out. The prosecutor, sharp and relentless, didn't give him a chance to breathe. "Do you deny your involvement in the abuse of your adoptive sister?" she asked, her voice as cold as steel. Corey's lips tightened. "Absolutely. These accusations are lies, the delusions of someone trying to tear my family apart," but his voice trembled. The confidence he once exuded on television shattered into something fragile. The prosecutor presented a piece of paper, a page from the journal found in Corey's very home. The sloppy handwriting read, "I think we've gone too far. I see her face in my dreams, and I feel nothing, just afraid she'll speak out." It felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Corey's face turned bright red, and he exploded. "That's not me. You're twisting everything. She's crazy. She's always been a liar, always manipulating. We gave her a life she never would have had." His outburst wasn't just a denial, it was a confession wrapped in desperation. The courtroom erupted with gasps and whispers. The judge slammed the gavel, demanding order. But Corey kept going, his voice choking. "You don't know anything about our family. She's the one who destroyed everything. She's so ungrateful." Rickharrison's collapse didn't save him. It only dug his grave deeper, along with the grave of his family. Sitting at the defense table, Rick never lifted his head. The man who once controlled an entire media empire now only knowing how to lower his gaze, his hands trembling as they gripped the edge of the table. He chose silence, not as a strategy, but as a sign of complete mental collapse. In Clark County Jail, Rick was no longer a television star. He was just another inmate locked in a cold concrete cell beneath the harsh fluorescent lights, turning his nightmare into an even worse reality. The prison officers reported that Rick refused food and spent hours just staring at the concrete wall, muttering about voices he thought he had heard, the mocking laughter of a crowd, the whispers of invisible enemies. In one delusion, he screamed at a guard, "They're making it all up. It's all for money. They want to destroy me." But no one responded. In prison, his reputation meant nothing. He was moved to solitary confinement after another inmate learned of Rick's crimes and threatened to drag him out to the yard. Now Rick lives in complete isolation, haunted by the sound of his own footsteps and the truth he can no longer escape. The collapse of the Harrison family didn't end in the courtroom or behind bars. It spread like an earthquake, shaking everything that once held them together. Adam, Corey's half-brother, who had long stayed away from the spotlight, publicly severed all ties. In a shocking move, he declared, "I am disgusted and heartbroken by what has come to light. I haven't spoken to Rick or Corey in over 7 years. And now I know I was right to walk away. My heart goes out to the victims." Adam's words were like the final cut, severing what little remained of the fractured family bond. Joanne Harrison, Rick's mother, remained silent, refusing to testify or speak to the press, but a close source revealed that she had once confided in a friend, "I knew something was wrong, but I was too afraid to face it." Her silence was not seen as innocence but as complicity in the eyes of the public. Former employees of the Harrison family began to speak out, exposing a culture of fear and control. One longtime pawn shop employee shared, "Rick was like a king. If you questioned anything, you disappeared. He controlled everything, the way we spoke, even how we looked at the camera." A former family friend recalled, "The girl always sat alone in the corner, never saying a word. I thought she was just shy. But now I realize she was screaming for help through her eyes." These once overlooked fragments have come together to form a chilling portrait of a family consumed by power, secrecy, and selfishness. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, once a pilgrimage spot for thousands of tourists, is now closed indefinitely. The shop's bright, flashy signs have been taken down, and the remaining employees are left in a state of confusion, uncertain about their futures. In an unprecedented move, the History Channel immediately pulled Pawn Stars off the air, erasing every trace of the show from its broadcasting schedule. Las Vegas, a city where people once revered Rick as a symbol of the hometown, has now turned its back on him. Restaurants, hotels, and local businesses hastily removed photos with Rick and Corey's signatures as if their presence had become a permanent stain. The public, once enamored with the Harrison family, now erupted in outrage. Victim advocacy groups gathered outside the courthouse, holding signs that read "Justice for her, no mercy for the monsters." Social media is flooded with stories from abuse survivors, many finding strength in the courage of an adopted daughter. One user tweeted, "She is our voice, breaking the silence we were too afraid to shatter." The Harrison family's collapse isn't just a lawsuit, it's a reckoning, a wake-up call that reputation and power can hide the darkest crimes. From the ashes of that empire, the adopted daughter stands tall, not as a victim, but as a torchbearer for truth, forcing the world to face the fire of justice she ignited by burning down the Harrison dynasty. It shines a light on the dark corners of society where power and fame protect the guilty. This case is not just about a broken family but a mirror of the dark side of celebrity worship, where the spotlight blinds us to the truth. The girl, once invisible in the shadows of a mansion, has become a symbol of unbreakable resilience. Deprived of a voice for years, she rose up and reclaimed it, not just for herself, but for countless others who have been abandoned by the system. Her testimony was a stone cast into still waters, sending ripples across the globe and sparking a global conversation about abuse in powerful families. The case exposed society's failure to blindly trust reputation over integrity. It teaches us that truth, no matter how deeply buried, has the power to shatter walls of deceit. It reminds us that justice isn't just a courtroom verdict, but believing and amplifying the quietest voices among us. The young woman, with her extraordinary courage, turned her pain into purpose. She lit the path for other survivors and shook the world. The world is waking up. Don't let the light of fame blind us to the darkness of crime. Her story is not just a personal victory but a call to action, a demand for change, so that no one has to suffer in silence. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next video.